There is a trick being played on your children, and most of us don't even see that it's happening. It's happening in their schools, in the playgrounds. It happens in the games they play, the friends they listen to, the movies they watch, and the bedtime stories that we read them at night. And it's not just children in Birmingham that are being tricked. Children all over the world are being tricked. I was tricked when I was little, and you were tricked when you were little. Your parents were tricked. Your parents' parents were tricked. In fact, we are all being tricked today, right now. So what is this trick, and how is it tricking us? Well, I wonder if any of you have ever heard a little boy be told that boys don't cry. I wonder if any of you have heard a little girl be told to be nice when she's been expressing her emotions. Men, I wonder if you ever feel pressure to be tough rather than kind. Women, I wonder if you feel pressure to be thin rather than be healthy. In our house, my male partner drinks rosé wine, and he's never been served it because they give it to me every time. And it's small and it's silly, but it's a signal. It's a signal pushing us back into the old story, into the old script. I want to tell you a story about my son. He's called Atlas. It was pick-up time. I went to pick him up from school, and he's running down the stairs, his little shoulders hunched, and he looked sad. And I said, "What's wrong? What happened?" He said, "The new teacher today called me a girl in front of the whole class." He's got long blonde curly hair, nearly down to his waist, and he's here now in the crowd, and he's 7 years old. And I watched his little face fill with confusion, and then I watched that confusion turn into shame. And later that night he said to me, "Mum, why did that teacher think I was a girl? Did I do something wrong?" I remembered a book that I'd read called How Not to Be a Boy by Robert Webb, the comedian and the actor. And there was a couple of sentences in there that said, the trick makes men sad and makes women get rubbish jobs. Because his little girl was so little, she couldn't say the patriarchy, so she just called it the trick. And Atlas thought he was wrong, but his teacher had been tricked. She was believing that there was rules. Boys have short hair, girls have long hair. She was tricked. And that's the trick in all its glory. It's an invisible rule book that polices all of us and tells us who we're allowed to be, and it starts when we're children. And it doesn't march in with big banners. It happens in lots of tiny moments. The boys play with trucks and the girls play with dolls, and the "give us a smile, love" that I got on the way over here this morning. And the woman being told that she's abrasive and difficult in her performance review when a man is being told that he's a leader for the same behaviour. It's a little boy being told that he needs to fix his tenderness, and a little girl being told that she can't play football because girls don't play football. The trick is centuries old, and it's very, very efficient. And it thrives in our silence. And it tells little boys like Atlas that being called a girl is an insult. It tells little girls like little Lauren that being bossy means you need to slow down and be small and stay quiet. It tells men they should be scared to talk about their emotions. It tells women their ideas aren't good enough, and it's everywhere. And we all start to think it's normal, but it isn't. It's a story. It's a narrative. So when Atlas said to me, "Why did my teacher think I was a girl?" I say, because she's tricked. She's listening to the old story. She's listening to the old script. She thinks there's rules, and there are no rules. Your hair is your hair. It's your choice. It's your creative freedom. Because when you name the trick, it loses all of its power. And in a moment, I'm going to share with you what we can do about it, around the dinner table, in your next staff meeting, in the playground. But I want you to hold these stories in your mind. The glass of rosé served to the wrong person. The little boy with his sad shoulders. These moments where we put words on our children that leave them bruised. Because stories are how the trick got in, and stories are how we're going to get it out. And this is not just anecdotes from my family. All of the data backs this up. We know that by age 6, girls are already less likely than boys to believe that their own gender is really, really smart, and they begin to avoid activities said to require brilliance. Among 16 and 17-year-old boys, 79% of them have consumed Andrew Tate content. That's more who say they've heard of the Prime Minister. We know women in the UK retire with only £69,000 in pension savings compared to £205,000 for men. And in England and Wales, around 3/4 of suicides are by men. When the trick says, be tough, asking for help is a weakness, the results are devastating. If we stay at today's rate, gender parity is more than a century away. That's 134 years. And it is not because we don't care. It's not because I don't care, and it's not because you don't care. It's because we don't have language. We don't have simple, accessible language to talk about gender equality and the patriarchy with our children and with the grown-ups who love them, with the granddads and the grands and the aunties and the uncles and the brothers and the sisters. Nothing I've said today has been complicated or intimidating, right? Because I've been calling it the trick. But actually what I'm talking about is one of the most complex forces that's blocking human potential. I'm talking about patriarchal oppression. But when we use really simple language, solutions start to present themselves. We can notice the story, name the trick, and choose differently. So what are we going to do about this? Well, we don't need a PhD. We don't need anything fancy. We need a shared, simple language that we can all use tomorrow back in our homes. In our house, it's these 3 words. I'm going to say them and then I want you to say them back to me. Notice, name, choose. Notice, name, choose. That's it. That's the whole practice. You notice when the old script shows up, you name it as a trick, and you choose a new rule. And you choose it together and you say it out loud so it sticks. So let me talk you through what that might sound like. We're in the school corridor. I hear a grown-up saying, boys don't have hair like that. I notice. And I crouch down to Atlas and I say, he's been tricked. He's listening to the old story. You get to choose what your hair looks like. It's your curls, your choice. That whole exchange takes about 12 seconds. 12 seconds to lift a rule off of my baby's shoulders. Then we're in the toy shop and we hear somebody say, that's a girl's toy. We pause, hear that? She's been tricked. She thinks that boys don't play with dolls, but we know that toys are for everybody. Again, notice, name, choose. No lecturing, no complicated words, no shaming. Then on the Saturday we're at the football and the coach goes, boys over there, girls over there. And I say, could we mix the teams up today? It would be more fair and it would help the girls and boys make friends. Most people are not villains, they're just busy. And when you give them a swap, they're probably going to say yes. You don't need a perfect sentence. You need a first sentence. And if you can remember these 3 words, you can do this. And it works at any age. Maybe your child is 5 and you say, how come all the toys for boys are blue and all the toys for girls are pink? What do you think about that? Maybe your child's 8 and you say, how come the boys get to play football more than the girls? Maybe we should ask your teacher about that. Maybe your child's 12. The next time you watch the Minions, when it closes Netflix, you say, where did you see the trick? Because I saw it plenty. Why were all the bad guys men? If your child's 15, you say, why are we talking about strength and softness as if they're opposites? Who taught us that? Let's talk about it together. Short, human, sayable. And we bring these moments into the cultural moments that we have because this is a cultural problem for us to solve. Round the family dinner table, some families think mums cook and dads fix things. That's the trick. How should we do it? Story audits, every book you read, every show you watch, every advert you see. Where did the trick show up? Why were all the helicopter pilots men? That one was from Jurassic Park that we watched last weekend. In the mirror, and that's when grown-ups go first. And you say, I noticed the trick at work today. I named it, and here is the choice that I made. Because children copy what you do, not what you say. So you have to model repair too, because you will get it wrong. I get it wrong all the time. Last week my son was at the school nurse. He comes home and I said, well, how was it? What did she say? The nurse was a man. I was tricked. Atlas laughed, he called me out, I laughed, and I tried again the next time. You don't have to be a perfect parent or a perfect teacher. You have to be a learning one. And what do children give back when we do this? Well, after 5 years of having these conversations in my own family, and with hundreds of families in my online community, I noticed 3 shifts. Children stop blaming themselves. I'm not wrong, the trick's wrong. And they become tiny culture makers. Let's wear nail varnish, let's beat the trick. And they kindly hold us accountable. Mum, if you don't know why you like her, it's probably the trick. This is not a theory. It's real. There is a trick being played on all of our children, but now you know how to show them. At the dinner table, in the playground, in the classroom, and in the mirror. Because when you give your children language, you give them power. Language to say, my hair is my hair, my feelings are my feelings, and my future is my future. Imagine a world where we walk into a clothes shop and it's not frills and glitter for girls over here and muscles and monsters for boys over here. Imagine classrooms where girls are celebrated for making decisions and boys are rewarded for asking for help. Imagine homes where boys are encouraged to cry and girls are encouraged to thunder. Imagine workplaces where we're given feedback on our behaviour, not stereotypes. Imagine the lift that we would all feel if the old script got drowned out because our children's voices got so loud. The trick is not a monster, it's a story. And stories are rewritable. Let's raise a generation who can spot the trick and name it and choose differently. And that work starts with me and you tonight, on the walk back to the car, over pasta later, when you're brushing your teeth before bed. That's an old story, that's the old script, it's the trick. There's a trick being played on your children, and now you know how to help them see it and how to set them free from it. But the last word today should not be mine, it should be theirs.
Once I saw a boy and he was wearing a pink jumper and his friends were making fun of him, and that made me feel quite sad. And I think boys and girls can wear whatever they like. And I think that's a really good example of the trick. Bye! I remember one time there was a boy in my class and he really liked ballet dancing. And one of the girls said, "You can't dance." And I don't think that's right, because boys can dance and girls can dance too. Girls can play football, boys can do ballet dance. They can do whatever they want. and it makes other people think that there's different rules for girls and boys. Sometimes I think one of my friends, she had short hair, so I always thought she was a boy. And it's kind of just like that with the trick. Girls are strong and boys are strong and they're all the same. Beat the trick. Girls and boys can be whatever they want. Makes us believe that boys have different rules. Girls think they can't do football like boys can. I think it's wrong because people should do anything they want. Cool. And boys can sing, girls can play rugby, boys can do hairstyles or whatever. Beat the trick. I've had an experience with the trick when it was World Book Day, and I was wearing a fairy costume, and my friend Lucas says, only girls wear fairy costumes, and that's not true. Anyone can wear whatever they like. I think that is an explanation of the trick.
Trick got in, and stories are how we're going to get it out. Thank you for listening.